Did they make
No,
contact?
no. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
You hear that wheel spin, Ben?
Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go. But the bump and run is going to get Jeff Gordon the checkered flag at the end of the winless streak. Gordon wins the Sharpie 500 at Bristol.
And Maine really turned around, made a Riley's cage up.
Yeah, welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Daytona Ron. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you had yourself a Kyle Larson type of weekend because he was the big winner down at the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma Raceway in the Sonoma Valley, California. Went to wine country, but his wife was chugging beers in Victory Lane. And if you're liking the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. We're available wherever podcasts are sold, and follow us along at Bump and Run Pod on Twitter. How you guys doing? Matt, I think you said you were struggling a little bit in the pre-show. You guys doing a little partying on Saturday night before the races going on Sunday. How's your guys' weekend?
It was very good. Yeah, like you said, at 31 years old, these hangovers are no longer one-day hangovers. They're definitely two-dayers. But we had fun at our buddy Gallagher, Mike Gallagher, the inaugural Hoffapalooza. He had some live music in his yard, and he threw a hell of a party. So still feeling that a little bit. But it was a fun-ass weekend.
Yeah, I'm real upset I missed you guys. I couldn't make it. I was out to dinner with my mother and her boyfriend. She took me and my girlfriend out to dinner. 5:30 reservations. I thought we'd have plenty of time to make it to Hoffapalooza, and we didn't get back home until 10 o'clock, and by then I was too stuffed to drink any beers. But talking about those 2-day hangovers, it's got me nervous for Pocono coming up. I don't know if our old bodies can take a 4-day weekend of drinking and debauchery down in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania.
We'll be all right.
I'll tell you what, it's rare on the show that I'm only on the Polar, but this weekend, no Jim Beam for me today during the show. I had a rough one this weekend. I was at Hoffapalooza as well, and last night I had my first ever doubleheader hockey game. So we were in the playoffs. We won our first playoff game. Then we went immediately right into the championship game.
Oh,
so
really?
that didn't end till midnight. So first game was at 8:30. Second game 9:45. Didn't get home till 12:30. So I was pretty beat up from the weekend, but all in all, it's always a good time to see your buddies and have a few beers with them and enjoy the nice weather that's finally here in northeastern PA.
Absolutely.
A few beers. A few beers. That's the thing lately.
We're going through.
Hey, a couple things. Speaking of Hoffapalooza, it gave me an opportunity to see a lot of the guys that I haven't seen in a while. Yeah, and we got some really good reviews from a lot of our friends. Some guys that don't even listen to or watch NASCAR gave some glowing reviews. So I really wanted to say, if you guys happen to be listening to the show this week, I appreciate the kind words, and it definitely drives us. I know our buddy Carmen, who's not even really that big of a NASCAR fan, I think is becoming one because of this podcast.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He sent me a Snapchat yesterday during the race that he was getting his future in-laws into the race. He made them watch the race. It looked like he was at like a family function or something, and the race was on. So that's why we started this podcast. It means a lot when people reach out to us with kind words, and keep them coming. We're doing this for you guys.
Absolutely. And what a great race to introduce some maybe casuals or non-NASCAR fans to, because I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely loved the racing down in Sonoma and Mid-Ohio this weekend. The Xfinity Series was over in Mid-Ohio. And of course, shout out to Carmen as always. He's out on the road with his job a lot. It has a lot of time to kill. And early on, he just started listening because he needed something to listen to. Wasn't even a NASCAR fan, so it really warms my heart that we're getting him watching NASCAR and even pushing it on his future family members. I absolutely love that one. And again, share with your friends. Let's get this train rolling. the more NASCAR fans, the better. And I feel like we're definitely on an uptick when it comes to NASCAR. You guys want to jump into the latest NASCAR news this week?
Yes, sir.
Let's hear it.
Really not much going on. In fact, I want to say this is going to be a pretty quick podcast because next week is the All-Star race, and there wasn't really a whole lot of news happening this week. But Hendrick Motorsports, so last week at the Coca-Cola 600, we saw some engine issues with Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain over at Chip Ganassi Racing. Both engines expired. They finished dead last and 39th, I believe. And Hendrick Motorsports taking full responsibility for that. Of course, they provide all the engines to Chip Ganassi Racing. And apparently there was an issue with a batch of motors that went out to them. It wasn't an intentional thing. I think they were testing out some new pieces, and they wholeheartedly take full responsibility for that. It kind of makes me wonder, though, does Chip Ganassi get like compensated financially through that? Because, you know, of course, these teams do win a purse money at the end of the day, depending on their finishing position. And even it kind of screws with their points position throughout the season. Do you think Hendrick has like a fiduciary duty to them to give them a payout or something like that? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I have no idea how the business side of that works when they partner up and share engines like that. I can't comment one way or another because it would be wrong information. I just have no idea. Yeah, sorry to put you guys on the spot. Like it was just a question that came to my head as I was talking about it.
I don't think Hendrick does. I just think that's like, hey, like put it this way, in the because in the NFL on Tuesdays, the head officials will come out and they'll review the week's games and they'll come out and say like, yeah, we screwed this up, we screwed that up, we should have called this, we should have got that. And like some of those calls are like game-changing calls. And they're like, yep, you guys should have won the game, but we got this call wrong. The team doesn't get the win back. Nothing changes. So like I would assume it's along those lines of like they're just letting – it's an upstanding thing, like saying like Hendrick, it was the right thing to do to take – blame, like say, hey, like responsibility, like, hey, this is my bad. There's nothing we could do, but like at least they owned up and said, yeah, it was an issue on our end.
Yeah, it wasn't something that the Chip Ganassi crew did.
And it wasn't the Hendricks cars, so
yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. You know, like they all finished in the top 10, no problem over there. Right. You never tried anything new on your own. Put out the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory on that one.
Right.
So the next piece of news: earlier in the week, New Hampshire Motor Speedway announced they are at just another one of many tracks that will go full capacity. Of course, we're moving past this coronavirus pandemic, and more tracks are opening. Pocono being one of them. Looking forward to Pocono in 2 weeks, and New Hampshire not too far of a drive. Would you guys be interested in driving up to Loudon later on in the year?
We're already heading to New England in a couple weeks. I don't think I want to make that trip twice.
Fair enough. I was just, I'm
Loudon. I don't think it puts on a really good show.
Yeah, I've got about a dozen other tracks I'd want to get to before.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. If Kevin Harvick doesn't win by Loudon, that might be the track he does it at. Just I
could see that.
Real bold prediction.
Yeah, Harvick does good up there.
And who doesn't love a gigantic lobster? I think that's the coolest part about that race.
That's all I'm eating when we go to New England is just lobster. In every form.
Yeah. Another piece of news: Matt Colligan. Honestly, I wasn't even paying attention.
Lobster.
I don't even know what you just said.
That's it.
Just
I
lobster.
hold you to that.
Okay. All right.
Lobster. All right. Getting back on track. Someone getting back on track in Cup is Matt Collig of Collig Racing, confirming that they will run at least a full-time Cup Series schedule for 2022. Collig Racing really lighting up the show down in the Xfinity Series the last couple years. They had a 1-2 finish in Mid-Ohio, their home state of Ohio, this past weekend. And I'm really excited to see what they do in Cup. If teams like Trackhouse Racing are any indication, what college racing could be. Of course, they're on the RCR campus as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm wondering, though, who do you think they put in that ride? So right now they have Justin Haley and they have AJ Allmendinger in their Xfinity Series cars. They love Justin Haley down there. But do you think they give the Dinger that Cup ride over him? Do you think they give him a second chance at Cup?
I mean, it's possible. I'll tell you what, it seems like, just from the outside looking in, it seems like that colleague team has a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Chris Rice, I don't know if you've ever heard any interviews or anything with him. He was actually he's close with some of the guys on the Door Bumper Clear podcast, and he was on a couple weeks, and he seems like he's a really, really cool guy to work for. So I mean, the whole culture thing, I think, helps with a team being successul. So I'm rooting for them, but no, I don't know who I think is going to be in that car, but I would have to think it would be one of those two guys.
Yeah, I would think so. They love both those guys down at that team. And like you said, Chris Rice, he's a ball of energy. He calls into the morning drive a lot on Sirius XM's Channel 90 NASCAR radio. And he's always excited about what they have going on at College Racing. They're real heavy on Justin Haley. They love what he's doing. They love what the Dinger's doing. And I can't wait to see them in Cup. I think I'm not going to say they're going to contend for wins right out the gate, but I think they're going to definitely be a top 15 team at least.
I mean, I think as far as like these small teams go, like they're performing well as of late. And, like Matt said, like that is a huge part, having fun and, just being loose around the garage and like, here we're at the track, we're doing it. Let's go out there, have fun, whatever it is. Hey, there's next week, We'll bandage up our wounds and move on and like, hey, keep it going. But, that's all fine and dandy for these new teams. But, let's say they do start performing and like top 15s and, really producing and becoming now a known team. They're not known as like, a new team or a low funded team or, now that there's expectations.
Yeah.
How do they handle when all the lights are on them, because then that happy go lucky mood that could change drastically. Because right now there's very low expectations. And they're above it. So they're all happy. It's great and fine now.
Yeah.
But once there's expectations that they should be in the top 15 every week and they're not, then we'll see if it's still happy-go-lucky. Yeah.
They've become one of those powerhouses in the Xfinity series. It's JRM, it's Joe Gibbs Racing, it's Colleague, and like those are like the big three right now.
Yeah. But like we've seen a million times, Cup Series is it's a big jump from the Xfinity Series. Not to take anything away from the Xfinity Series, but there's definitely a lot more low-funded teams in the Xfinity Series just because of the cost of racing. It's a lot cheaper to run down there. But I think College Racing's got a lot of money behind them, and I'm excited for 2022 for multiple reasons, and that's just one of them. Speaking of 2022, last week we told you that 2311 Racing is looking to add a second car for 2022, and the rumor mill has it that Kurt Busch might jump from Chip Ganassi Racing and go drive a Toyota. Well, his brother Kyle was interviewed over the weekend, and he said, I've heard the same rumors you guys have. So I'm wondering if he's kind of alluding to something. He also said that that's Kurt's prerogative, and he's won in every other type of manufacturer. It's time for Kurt to win in a Toyota, essentially. So maybe we could see Kurt Busch push off retirement for another year or two and run for Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan in 2311 Racing.
Just like the Brad Keselowski going to Roush thing, man. When there's a lot of smoke like that, there seems to usually be fire. So these secrets don't stay secrets for long. They usually do sneak out one way or another. So like I said last week, and I'm sure we'll continue to say week after week, silly season is upon us, and we're starting to see things starting to roll right now, and it's a lot of fun.
The summer's not even heating up, but silly season is.
It depends too, like with like certain people, like, does Kurt want to have that going out season? Or is he okay with the way this season ended and just going out?
Yeah,
I think that depends on the driver. Like, I kind of knew that the way Matt Kenseth went out, he's a very dry, he wasn't looking for any kind of spotlight.
Yeah.
When he didn't get re-signed or picked up, it's just like, yep, I'm just going to fizzle out. I don't want this whole, hey, I'm done. This is my last year and have the tracks thing. It's certain drivers I think could go without that, you know, but Kurt seems to be one that I think he'd want a little bit of appreciation, being a past champion. And, I don't think he wants to go out on a losing end and such a, it's a lot of bad luck for him this year, but I could see him going to that team just because he's not satisfied with the way that this
things
season
are going
ended
this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I could see Kurt being the kind of guy that wouldn't want a whole ton of, like, he wouldn't want the whole Jimmy Johnson type send off, but he is the kind of guy that would want to go better than what he has, like right now.
Right.
So Matt, you'll know this. What was the team that he was on after he got let go of Penske before he moved over to Stuart Haas? Was that like
Kurt Busch?
Yeah. He got fired and he was on a backmarker team for one season.
Yeah, and I do know this. I just,
like,
it's not
Phoenix
on the top of my head.
Racing or something like that.
Something like that.
I was checking this. I was checking the stats the other day. Not that it's super important. You don't even have to look it up. But that season that he was on the backmarker team was his worst season of all time. Before that, I don't think he ever finished outside of like 16th in points. And this season, he's in the 20s. And I can't see Kurt Busch wanting to go out like the way he's going out. So I could see him jumping over to 23-11, trying to win at least one race and make it to the playoffs to finish in the top 16 in points for his last season too. So,
yeah. And right now, Kurt Busch is 20.4 is his average finish.
Yeah.
I only know that because it's the same as Eric Jones right now. Mm-hmm. And I was just curious, and it got me thinking about like points and stages. And I know I've talked about this before with my driver and how he doesn't get stage points and stuff. And Kurt Busch right now is sitting in 18th.
Yeah.
And he has the same average finish as Eric Jones does. So like, it just goes to show that like those stage points mean a lot. You know what I mean? Because then Bubba Wallace, who's in 21st, and Eric Jones is in 25th. So like Bubba's in 21st, and Bubba, he has a worse average finish at 21 point something.
But he's got a bunch of stage points from
got stage
Talladega
points
and stuff. Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
it makes
that's why every week it makes a huge difference, man.
That sparked a pick a lane segment for me. I wrote down Eric Jones and rookies. I'm going to spring an audible pick a lane on you guys a little later on that I was thinking about earlier today, and I think I'm going to do it. So Matt, to put a bow on the Kurt Busch talk, what?
Yes, to put a bow on that. So in 2012, yes, he did run for Phoenix Racing. And then, I don't have time to read all this right now, but it looks like something happened midway through the season.
Yeah.
He left Phoenix Racing and then went to that 78 car in Furniture Row.
I was going to say Furniture Row, but
I knew about Furniture Row, but I knew there was something before that. And then obviously Furniture Row blossomed into what happened with Martin Truex, and the rest is history with them winning a championship. But there was a little stop at Phoenix Racing that just from, like I said, a quick little read, didn't seem like it went too well. So,
and that was his worst season ever until this season. So,
right.
All right. Jumping into the last piece of news just announced today, I've got the Daytona koozie for today's show because the 2020 Daytona 500 tickets go on sale this Wednesday. So if you've gone in the past, I'm sure you'll be getting a call from a ticket agent very soon. And if you're interested in going to the Daytona 500 this year, tickets will be available on Wednesday. So
I would probably say too, just not to get too far into it. I know you guys are probably definitely going to go. I would say don't wait too long because last year, obviously they had limited fans. I think it's going to be a packed house there next year. I think NASCAR is going to want to put a show on, especially with the new gen car coming out.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a huge Daytona 500.
Absolutely. Don't wait, because a lot of people have been cooped up for over a year now, and they're looking to get back to the track, and why not make it to the biggest race of the year for NASCAR, the Daytona 500. You guys want to jump into this past weekend of racing?
Yes.
Like I alluded to before, AJ Allmendinger with the win in Mid-Ohio for Colleague Racing. That was a home track race for the team because Matt Colleague and Colleague Racing are based out of Ohio. It was a 1-2 finish. And I tell you what, I love Mid-Ohio. I thought the race on Saturday was fantastic. I saw bits and pieces, and I really enjoyed that course.
Yeah, I do too. I know it's only a video game, but I like racing it on heat too. I just think it's a fun technical course, and I think that's a term you're probably going to hear me say a lot today is technical because so is Sonoma. And what that pretty much means is that there's a lot of braking zones. There's a lot of technique to hitting each turn. So that's what makes some of these road courses. Absolutely. That's what makes
you got to prevent that wheel hop. You know what I mean? Like when you're coming in.
Can't hit those turtles.
Some of these, like Watkins Glen is not as much of a technical track because there's a lot of long straightaways and so forth. So if you hear me say, if you hear me use the word technical a couple times today, that's what it means.
Speaking of the technical course down in Sonoma, a lot of people also said it was like the Martinsville of road courses this past weekend because there was a whole ton of beating and banging. Denny Hamlin's car looked like, I don't even know how he finished the race with a bumper on it. It looked like it was about to fall off in the last 20 laps or so.
Some of those cars got destroyed yesterday.
Yeah. And they were still going too. Eric Jones had a little bit of front end damage from dust up in the closing laps there with Corey LaJoie and Ross Chastain. And I was surprised he kept on going. Alex Bowman, another one, his car was absolutely mangled and he kept going for a top 15 finish. And of course, the Hendrick driver who has been absolutely dominant this year, he tied Martin Truex Jr. for wins on the season with 2 in a row. He gets the sweep from Charlotte, and he got the sweep down in Sonoma. He is lighting it up. I can't believe it. And that's the 9th win of his career. Kyle Larson absolutely dominating the day in Sonoma. But I thought it was a great race. What'd you guys think about the race? You want to jump into the grades?
I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, Matt usually goes first, so Eric, why don't you go first on the grades this week?
All right, I'll take it. I'm going to give it a B+.
Yeah.
It didn't do enough for me as far as in the beginning of the race to, give it that A.
Yeah.
Stage 2 into 3, stage 3 especially saved the race, but good racing, a lot of hard battles, like you said, beating and banging. So like the people that like the wrecks and some of that kind of stuff, they got their action. The passes, the technicality of the braking into certain turns was there. There was some mishaps, people screwing up because it's in the driver's hands, the strategy, and you have to save, long run, short run, let that guy wear out his stuff.
Tire wear going on.
Yeah. So it had everything that I liked besides the beginning. It was just a little slow. But I mean, it was nothing that knocked it out of the park for me. So I couldn't go to the A, so I'll give it that B+.
All right. How about you, Matt?
So yeah, my grade is the highest that I've handed out since Kansas. My grade is an A-. I love the strategies playing out. I think all three of us can agree with that, or really everyone that watched the race, probably loved those strategies. The entire race, there were 10 or 15 cars on one strategy. There was another 10 or 15 cars on another strategy. Yeah. And then there was the Rick Ware Racing cars that didn't even know they were in the state of California. And then, there was
Cody Ware getting involved in an accident.
Yeah. There was a lot of comers and goers all race long. It's always fun to see the strategy kind of play out and see which strategy is going to be the prevailing strategy that wins the race, right?
Yeah.
I thought Larson, Chase, and MTJ were the 3 best cars all day long, and the cream rose to the top. And at the end, it was those 3 battling it out for the win. And then even though Larson did dominate that race, because of those late race cautions, it allowed us to wonder, is Chase going to happen? Is Chase going to move him out of the way? Is MTJ going to get a jump on him? I mean, even Eric's boy Logano was up there challenging for the lead late too. So, I mean, there was a lot of things going on, and I thought it hammered it home for me. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo your sentiment, but I'm gonna bump it up to a full A grade because I'm not gonna lie, in the past, not a big road course fan. This season though, there's something about this season where I'm really enjoying the road races so far. Of course, you can't really judge COTA because of the rain and stuff, but I enjoyed the Daytona road course. Really love Sonoma, and I was not looking forward to Sonoma at all. And like you said, there were so many different strategies going on. It was really enjoyable to watch.
Now, do you think that played a role, Whitey, in you having such a high grade? I think low expectations, it probably blew your mind watching that. You know what I mean?
It definitely did, because I went in with super low expectations, and it definitely was way better than I thought it was going to be. And so I had to give it an A. For a road course race, it was an A for me all day long.
Yeah, you know what it kind of reminded me of too? You see it a lot at Pocono is with 2 or 3 laps right before the end of a stage, you see everyone come down and pit. Yeah. You see some stay out, and that's where you get your difference in strategy. And that's what they were doing yesterday, you know, with 2 or 3 before, you know, the stage break to go.
Yeah.
You would see some guys
pit. We saw guys sacrifice stage points for a different pit strategy and stuff.
And you see that at Pocono play out too. So I think it's so much fun.
See, I think those cautions at the end of the race is really what kind of held it from being an A for me, to be honest.
I wish those cautions didn't happen.
I wanted to see that long run play out. I wanted to see Larson get pressured into using up his tires and, you know, maybe over-braking or blowing through a turn, you know?
I don't know if you guys caught it, but there was a part where Fox put the virtual cars side by side, Chase and Larson's lines, and it showed how much later Larson was breaking into corners. And that creates speed, but that also creates an opportunity to mess up one of those turns. And I was really enjoying that battle. And like you said, I wish those cautions didn't come out.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that long run battle, see how that shaped out. And, you know, like you said a couple weeks ago, Whitey, if you were just to grade on like stage 3, I think I would have given, if I just popped up as someone who put stage 3 on and watched that, I would have given it an A easy. But as a whole, I just don't think it was all there for me. But I do agree with you guys on a lot of your points.
No, and you know what? I think even to the broadcast could have made it a better race, because like we said, we like to dog on Fox, and I don't think Fox is really equipped for road course racing. I think NBC is better because you have Steve Letarte breaking down the different strategies as a crew chief. You have Jeff Burton, my man Jeff Burton, breaking it down as a driver. You don't have that crew chief for Fox. You have Larry McReynolds, but he's only doing little tiny pieces in between. I wish they would have Larry do play-by-play for the road courses that Fox has, because I think he would be able to explain some of those different strategies that are happening throughout the race. Because like Matt said earlier, there was, you know, a handful of guys doing one strategy, a handful of guys doing another. And one thing that they showed near the end that I wish they had the whole entire time was the last time those people pitted. So you'd see like, oh, they pitted on lap 72. These guys pitted on 68 or whatever. So you saw the difference, maybe even just a 5-lap difference in tires.
It did get a little confusing. I mean, there were a couple times, you know, of course, us three were talking during the race, and there were a couple times where we would say, you know, oh, is Kurt Busch being in 5th legitimate, or is he just on a different strategy?
And it was, he was having a great day for once in a long time.
But there was a couple different times. Like I saw Eric Jones, I think he was up to 4th at one point.
He was in 5th. You know, he was in 5th, and he was like running 5th for a while, but he was 14 seconds back.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But, so it was confusing, and it actually made it really, really hard strategy for fantasy.
It was a fantasy nightmare.
Made it really, really tricky. Yeah.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. made my garage pick for me. So I have a bunch of guys that I haven't used much, like Alex Bowman and Chris Buescher, and I was like, oh, let me play these guys. I don't know why I've been sleeping on Bowman for the last couple weeks too. It was a dumb decision on my part, but I put Ricky in because, you know, he's okay at road courses. You know, I figured he'd get me a top 15 or something. And he wrecked. I go, well, I guess I'm putting Brad Keselowski in. And so Brad Keselowski made the final lineup before the end of stage 2, but it was a nightmare trying to figure things out, like who's in the top 10 that's legit right now, who's on a different strategy. We're coming to the end of the stage. But do you want to jump into your checkers and wreckers?
I'm ready.
All right, Matt, you want to start with the checkers?
Yeah, man. I had to give my checkers to my boy Josh Berry. He finished 8th in the Xfinity race at Mid-Ohio.
Yep.
But it was his
running
first
for Jordan Anderson Racing.
Yeah. He was not in JRM equipment. He was in my mind, lesser equipment in Jordan Anderson Racing.
It's way lesser equipment.
Way lesser, and it was also his first road course ever in his career, and he came away 8th. So I thought that was super impressive. I'm going to continue my man crush on him.
Yeah.
I just want to see somebody give this guy a full-time shot. So with, like we just said, silly season is upon us. Maybe we'll hear something coming down the road here for Josh Berry.
Yeah.
Then go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off. I just want to give some backstory on Jordan Anderson Racing and their Xfinity Series program for anyone that doesn't really know. So he's kind of affiliated with RCR, who has a very strong Xfinity Series program, but he's not getting his equipment direct from them. They're kind of just piecing parts together. Tyler Reddick ran a couple races for them, and he said in an interview, he's like, I had to bring that car home perfect because they don't have the parts to replace on it. So when you say it's an underfunded team, it is like the true definition of just a car pieced together to go out there and race and try to get some prize money. So for Josh Berry to pull off a top 10 in that equipment is a huge win for Jordan
in
Anderson
his first
Racing.
ever road course race.
Yeah, it's just a huge win all around. And I don't want to gloss over the fact that just the team and him in general have been doing great things in the Xfinity Series.
Absolutely.
All right, on to your wreckers.
Yeah, so my wreckers is going to go to Ryan Preece. So on lap 87, towards the end of the race, he spun out.
Yeah.
And then he was completely off the track when he spun out, and then he pulled onto the track, a hot track with cars still going. The caution was not out yet, and Cody Ware ran right into the back of him. For a guy in Ryan Preece who has 93 Cup starts in his career, I think that was about as dumb of a move as a quote-unquote veteran could have made. I couldn't believe he did it. I mean, there were cars whizzing by him, and he went out there like they were on Route 11 on a Sunday afternoon,
and in a cloud of smoke too. Like there was like already smoke and dust, and like you couldn't see anything to begin with. So he pulled back onto that track blind.
Yeah.
Right. What I want to know is where was his spotter? Where was Cody Ware's spotter to tell him that there was trouble up ahead and to slow down?
Yeah.
What was going on there? It was a confusing thing. And then both of their cars got absolutely destroyed.
Well, it didn't help that Cody Ware, after he ran into the back of him, kind of threw a hard right turn into the side of him too and destroyed both their cars even more. So.
Right. For both of them, it was just a disaster of a situation that in my mind could have been completely avoided.
Absolutely.
So I saw that and I just knew immediately, that had to be my wreckers. It was,
where that happens all the time? iRacing. That is a 100% iRacing rookie move where people will try to get back on track after wrecking and wreck the whole entire field. That is amateur stuff.
Like I said, 93 Cup starts. This isn't the guy's first rodeo, and he pulled that boneheaded move. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't think that Fox made a big enough deal about what I saw because to me I thought that was a huge freaking dumb move.
It's like how do you do that?
Need to happen.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that one. How about you, Eric? What was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Well, my checkers is the fact that was Fox's last broadcast, and we are now moving over to the
paying
summer
broadcast.
Yeah,
they have the All-Star race next week.
They just, I was so irritated with them for the beginning of this season. Main thing, even on Sunday, I think I texted you. I'm like, how did they just not go NASCAR nonstop?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not? Like, it's like in 2021. You have the technology to like have a sport. Like NASCAR has any commercial. You should always have the race on. It should always be NASCAR nonstop. And it just so happens, I don't know if I'm just remembering because it's Fox, but like every time they don't go NASCAR nonstop or they go to commercial, instant
big happens
on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Something happens.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to cut back to it. They cut the commercial early to get back to what happened.
Yeah.
And they don't know what happens. Oh, well, here, well, this, or what? Oh, what happened? Well, we have here. And it's like, dude,
and you know
what
those
the
guys,
hell?
And you know those guys in the booth aren't really paying attention during the commercial break. So like they always sound strong. They're like,
especially Boyer.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we had an incident back here. You know, like, it's crazy.
So they had to get that. That's definitely,
that's like a checkers and a wreckers all in one.
Right. My wreckers though, why do you kind of mentioned it earlier? Ross Chastain in that 42 car, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bonehead move. Like you said, Matt, going back, I just thought LaJoie left it open a little bit. But the way he dive bombed in there so hard and heavy, there wasn't that much room to do that.
Yeah.
And that move right there took out a lot of cars.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it was just a stack job, you know?
Yeah. And one of the cars was Eric Jones that was to the inside. And I don't know how he missed LaJoie. When LaJoie slid back out, he had to really go around him. I thought his left front definitely got a cut tire. Like he got squeezed in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a bonehead move.
I'm going to make a comparison here and just hear me out. And this is hard for me to say because I like Ross Chastain.
So do I.
Oh, yeah.
He is a lot like Joey Logano. He won't give you an inch. I don't know if you guys know this, but like he doesn't like he won't become friends with a lot of those guys, a lot of the other racers because they're competitors to him. That Joey Logano does the same thing.
Yeah.
He's super aggressive on the racetrack, and I like myself an aggressive driver. As a matter of fact, I'll get into it in a little bit later on in the show. I wish my driver that I follow was a little bit more aggressive than he is. But I think there's a line, right? I think there's a line that sometimes, well, a lot of times that Logano crosses, and I've been seeing it out of Ross Chastain, even going back a couple years to the Truck and Xfinity series. I know he had a dust up with Kevin Harvick a few years ago in the Xfinity series from being a little too aggressive, and I think he's kind of gaining a reputation of being super aggressive to the point where it crosses the line.
Well, it kind of goes like this. This is the way I see it as far as like if I'm an owner of a team, if you know you have a 15th place car, bring that car home 15th.
Yeah.
Don't take a 15th place car, make a dumb move, and come home 36th.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the situation he puts himself in most of the time. And I was kind of upset that 4 car got beat up too. Because Harvick needed every positive race that he could get right now. He needs every positive finish he could get because he is the only light at the end of the tunnel as far as, Stuart Haas goes. So to see him get caught up in that, I was a little sad to see him get caught up in that dust up.
Yeah, especially when you bring up Harvick, he was having an interesting day where he was kind of up and down where like he'd be running in the top 15, running in the top 10. And not only just because of strategy, it seemed to be like legitimate. So not that he was going to win the race or anything, but it would have been a nice top 10 finish probably for Harvick.
Right. Like any glimpse of hope for that, Stuart Haas team is the 4 car.
Yeah.
And, I just thought that was just just another low blow, just another kick in the nuts that team just keeps on getting, kicked down.
Oh yeah. And, I agree too. Like if you have a 15th place car, you're not going to push it to a top 10 by being super aggressive, but you could definitely drop it down to 35th easily, and it's like that fine line. When do you be too aggressive? Like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for a long time was riding that fine line where he was a little too aggressive. I think he's finally figured it out now.
Right. That's
season.
exactly it. You're 100% right with that.
And
once you figure out that line,
5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's starting to figure it out too. Yeah.
And I think maybe a couple more years in Cup full time, Ross will figure it out because again, this is the best equipment he's run in Cup. So, I mean, he's used to being in the back, and those guys are fighting their own battles, and they're being aggressive, even if they're slower on the pace. They're fighting for every spot too back there. So maybe he just needs to pump the brakes a little bit and not try to dive bomb onto the inside of somebody. I'm gonna jump into my checkers and wreckers. I got to give my checkers to Team Hendrick, man. Again, 4th consecutive 1-2 finish on the season, just dominating. It makes me wonder, though, like, how long Denny Hamlin can stay in first place at this, because Denny seems to be starting to cool off. He hasn't had the best finishes the last couple weeks, and stage points can only carry you so far. Kyle Larson nipping at those heels for first place, and really anyone at Hendrick, I feel like, could go on a run too. Like, we could see Chase have a good run coming up in the next couple of weeks. We could see Bowman have a good run in the next couple of weeks and just start stacking points,
How impressive is it that Denny still has the lead without the win? Yeah. I look at it in the opposite way. That's impressive on its own.
It's so impressive.
Some people have 3 wins and he's still in first. Now, Larson is 47 points back, that's pretty much a full entire race.
Yeah.
And with Denny not having the win, I think that's impressive. Yes, he hasn't had the finishes, but I also feel like Gibbs, coming from that camp, they like to mess around with their setups a lot. Once they know Denny's kind of locked in. They know they do some weird things throughout the season as far as you do this, you try that.
Yeah.
So I think that might be going on right now as well, as far as a little bit of tinkering and playing around for maybe later on in the playoffs.
Just trying to find some speed somewhere. You might not realize it, and it might be taking speed from somewhere else, and we'll put it all together later on in the year. I hope so, because I want to see a good championship battle coming in the playoffs. And I always like seeing Denny in the mix, because it has that storyline. He is like this generation's Mark Martin, where he's been so close so many times, and he just hasn't sealed the deal on a championship yet. So I'll be really interested. But man, I mean, you can't deny Hendrick Motorsports right now. Like, they are just killing it. And Chevys in general are running very strong. My checkers, though, goes to a Ford, the number 2 of Brad Keselowski, but more importantly, his pit crew. So they had an opportunity to start up front near the end of the race, and they blew it. They were pitting just as the yellow flag came out, basically got a free pit
They
stop.
got a gift of a lifetime. That happens like once a season to where it lands perfectly.
Like, they were starting on the front row, and just a mistake on pit road gave him a penalty. It was a piece of equipment left the pit box or something along those lines, and he had to go back to the rear of the field, and it kind of screwed his day, and it kind of screwed my fantasy day too. So it hurt just a little bit.
There it is. There's the reason.
It hurt just a little bit extra. Right now in our fantasy, I'm in 3rd place. Last week I was in second. I was in second by 10 points, right? This week I am behind by 7 points in 3rd place. So it is a tight battle for 2nd and 3rd place right now. And if Chase Elliott won yesterday instead of Kyle Larson, I would have gotten the bonus points to bump me up, but I'd still be in 2nd. And if Brad Keselowski got a top 10, I think I would still be in pretty good shape fantasy-wise, and I'd still be in 2nd. But we got a lot more races to go. But, oh, man, fantasy. Sometimes fantasy gets me more fired up than on the track.
It always does. Yeah. It always does, Whitey.
Yeah.
Always.
Speaking of fantasy, someone I had on my lineup, and I told you guys earlier, I had to put him in the garage, was one Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and that just so happens to be our last place driver for the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma. Here on the Bump and Run podcast, everyone talks about the first place guy. We like to talk about the last place guy. And this past Sunday, it was one Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Got himself in a little bit of an accident, sent him off course, and really tore up his car. But they got it back on pit road. They made some repairs. They sent him on out there. I saw some glimmer of hope. He was only 2 or 3 laps down. I thought, oh, maybe he'll still be able to finish this thing. Nope. Engine expired. Not too short after that. Of course, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a back-to-back Xfinity Series champion. The 2013 Rookie of the Year, has 2 career wins, both at super speedways, one at Talladega and one at Daytona, and is currently in his second year with JTG Doherty. And like we said earlier, I've been impressed by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. this year. He was running pretty solidly in the top 15 all year long. Just a bad day down in Sonoma. I don't know exactly what caused the wreck or what happened there. Again, it was one of those things that Fox really didn't catch the whole entire thing. I think they were actually coming out of commercial when it happened. But yeah, old last place for old Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Of course, they were coming back from commercial.
Well, you know what? It's about time, Ricky came in last. I miss Ricky crashing, you know, 3 laps into a race. You know what I mean? Like the good old, Ricky Stenhouse.
Old Ricky Spinhouse Jr. over here. And he sure did. He spun right into the dirt and got all destroyed. But you want to know what? Like we said, it was a good race. A lot of beating and banging. I enjoyed that race. I really did. I kind of, every week I always forget to go over the stats, but we had 8 cautions for 18 laps. 13 lead changes among 7 drivers. Again, tons and tons of different strategy. And as a strategy fan, that I live for those kinds of races. And Sonoma definitely delivered. So you guys want to jump into the pickle lane? We are moving along. Usually it's a little later in the show when we get into the pickle lane, but there wasn't much to talk about in Sonoma besides that. Unless you guys have something to bring up.
Well, my honorable mention for Checkers, you mentioned it right at the becoming the Whitey, was Mrs. Larson shotgunning that beer. That's becoming a thing of hers, is shotgunning a beer after Kyle wins. I thought it was super impressive. It was a lot cleaner than I've been able to do in recent years.
Did you see that Kyle accidentally spit a little bit of wine on the track president too? He immediately apologized to her. It just kind of like came out of his mouth real quick.
Yeah, I saw that.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're celebrating.
What are you gonna do?
You got Larson drinking wine because they're in wine country. We have his wife shotgunning a beer because, well, she's impressive at shotgunning a beer. She's faster than I'll ever be with shotgunning a beer. All right,
that's great.
You guys want to jump into the pickle lane segment?
Yes, sir.
I got a couple 2-tree topics on the board here. I actually have 2 that you guys don't know about. I think I only sent you guys 2. But it's the pickle lane segment. The choose cone is out, and you get to choose your side of the argument. We saw another 1-2 Hendrick finish this week, and I want to know, how hard should you race your teammates for a win? Like we alluded to earlier, Chase and Kyle Larson were battling out near the end. Of course, that late caution kind of threw a wrench in what was going on there. But how hard should you battle a teammate outside of the playoffs for a win?
It's simple for me. As hard as you'd race your enemy.
Yeah.
It's for a win. If you want to take care of your equipment and your teammates' equipment throughout the race, I get that 100%. Yeah. But when it's down to crunch time, you need to go for it. I alluded to it earlier, and I'll talk about it now. Chase Elliott, love the guy. He's my driver, but he is not as aggressive as he needs to be sometimes.
No.
I think he could probably have 4 or 5 more wins under his belt in his career if he was just a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, him wrecking Larson, his teammate, to get the win yesterday, but he had the opportunity to move him a couple of times, and I think he should have done it, and that's just. And I would expect Larson to do the same to Chase if given the opportunity. When a win is on the line, you have to go get it. Dale Earnhardt wasn't afraid to go get it. As much as we rag on him, Joey Logano, not afraid to go get it. Kevin Harvick, not afraid to go get it. And the list goes on with guys who probably have, X amount more wins in their career because they moved someone out of the way. So, maybe that'll come with time. He realizes that he's given some up, and he'll decide to become a little bit more aggressive. I know his dad wasn't the most aggressive guy in the world.
No, they're both very like calm, cool, collected type of guys.
Even look at Mark Martin. You mentioned him earlier. Mark Martin never won a champion. He was one of the best NASCAR drivers of all time, never won a championship. And he was notoriously non-aggressive.
Yeah.
He prided himself on not laying a bumper on another car, teammate or not. And I personally think that cost the guy a championship here and there. So,
yeah, I could see that,
I personally wanted to see a little bit more aggressiveness when it comes to at the end of a race and you're going for a win.
Okay. How about you, Eric? What do you think? How hard should you race a teammate for a win?
I have a couple different viewpoints, and it's like situation based for me, I think.
Yeah.
One, if I'm a driver, I always will race whoever's around me the way that they would race me.
Yeah.
So if
they
this
would
situation,
give you an inch, you give him an inch.
So Kyle Larson, he prides himself on that, where he races people how they race him.
Yeah.
Now, I remember before he had his first win, he would race Matt Kenseth. I think he finished second behind Matt multiple times.
Yeah.
One was at Dover, where there was a couple restarts at the end where he couldn't get past Matt. He got to his bumper, he could have moved him, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And after that race, people asked him, "Hey, so why didn't you move Matt? You don't have a win. That could have been your first win." He goes, "I don't want that to be who I am. I don't want my first win to come because I couldn't get around a guy racing him.
Yeah.
I don't want my first win to be moving someone out of the way." So right there, it's a respect thing first.
Absolutely.
Secondly, I think situationally, playoffs, like you said, Matt, it's all go full bore. That doesn't matter. Regular season, you guys both have wins. No reason to, potentially completely take out and wreck a car. I'm sure, Rick Hendrick wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I think too, because there were so many cautions at the end of that race, I feel like there was a lot of opportunity to move them. And I think Chase in his mind was like, okay, I'm going to get another opportunity. I don't need to move him.
Let me just put some pressure on him.
Like we talked earlier, I think if it stayed the long run, and he got to him there, I think if that's the battle, it's a long run. You're both cat and mouse. You're right there. In that long run, I would be perfectly fine him bumping and moving Larson out of the way and going to do it. In those short little, I don't know, 2 last final laps, I don't like the beating and the banging. I really don't.
What's in my hand, Eric? What's in my hand?
A Jets chapstick.
Okay, a New York Jets chapstick.
That might be the saddest purchase I've ever seen someone make.
I think it was a stocking stuffer. My point, the reason why I had that is because Herm Edwards famously said when he was a New York Jets head coach, "You play to win the game." Hello, you play to win the game. When you're out there, you race to win the race.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see some more aggressiveness yesterday. And I think I'm so heated about this because of recency bias, because I was yelling at my TV yesterday for Chase to move Larson.
Yeah.
And I'm still a little fired up about it, but you race to win. And I want to see my guy, especially if I'm a sponsor, I want to see my driver go out there and do everything he can to win a race.
I think a little bit of that, though, you could go too far with it, though. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's that line. And I agree with you. I would always want my driver to be aggressive and go. If that was me, I'm yelling, screaming, I drive right through him. You know what I mean? Drive right through. I would have been screaming at TV too. Yeah. But when you look back at it as a whole, okay, yes, you won that one race. Yes, that's one race to win. Great, fine. You already have a win, though. I always go back to Logano. You know what I mean? Look at him. Do you want to have enemies out there, or would you rather have a buddy and because guess what?
Especially
you're not
a
just
teammate
racing
enemy,
Right.
Yeah.
Look at what's going on in Penske right now. Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano obviously hate each other, and they have for a couple years.
Look at it for just this season. Chase is going to be in that car for another 15 years, bro.
Oh, sure.
Larson's going to be in that car for another 15 years. Do you want to really start that now?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's
what I mean.
That's the
you
point.
keep it a nice in-house friendly rivalry but you don't let it go too far.
I think having a win determines it too. My decision behind the wheel. If I don't have a win, if that's Denny Hamlin, I'm moving Kyle Busch, who has 3 wins. If I'm Denny, I'm moving Truex out of the way there to get a win.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's scenario based for me, I guess.
You have to look at how hot Hendrick is too. Do you really want to screw that up with a feud that doesn't need to really happen?
Point.
Yeah.
So
great
I actually just thought about that, and like in the emotion of me watching the race yesterday, thinking back on how fired up I was for Chase to win that, I can get it why he didn't do it, because they're on cloud 9 right now. They are untouchable as far as performance goes. And you don't want to have something rock the boat. And I'm sure Mr. H talked to them throughout the week, telling them, boys, when you're out there, you guys have been racing around each other. Let's not get tangled up here. So I'm sure that conversation was had, and I'm sure that was in the back of Chase's mind.
I'm going to split you guys right down the middle, I think, because I see it both ways. As a fan, yeah, I want to see him move. I want to see him move his teammate out of the way. I want to see my driver win that race, especially if he has the opportunity. But as a driver, thinking big picture, thinking championship, thinking the old adage, what's better, 2 in the hand, or no, 1 in the hand or 2 in the bush? You know, right now you have.
I hold on a second.
You know,
I think you just slaughtered that saying.
I butchered that saying. All I'm saying is right now, you could finish 1-2. You're going to get some stage points. Your teammate's going to get a win. You already have a win on the season. So right now it's all about stockpiling some stage points if you can and everything, building that cushion. Right. And you don't want to pull a Ryan Blaney at the Daytona road course during the Busch Clash and wreck the person, and then the guy in third drives right by you and gets that win. And then you take a win out of both your hands.
Instead of the headline today being Hendrick dominates, Hendrick is, on top of the world, it very well could have been Hendrick's teammates wreck one another. Is there turmoil amongst? It could be
Truex wins again at a road course.
Does Chase and Larson have a beef now? It could the news media would have taken that and twisted it and spun it. So instead of them being dominant and being the ones talking about being beat, they could have very well spun that to be like, oh, what's going on at the Hendrick camp? Like, you know what I mean? What's happening
between the 2 drivers?
And Whitey, it's 1 bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush.
2 in the bush. Yeah, something like that,
And I still have no idea.
Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. It's don't be greedy.
If you can get 1 in your hand, you take it. Don't worry about the 2 possibilities. It's like, don't count your chickens before they hatch because they might not be chickens. They could just be eggs. All right. We alluded.
See, you learn something. You come here to learn something.
Yeah, we're an educational podcast.
File us under educational podcast.
All right. The Choose Cone is back out, and I want to know: is SHR Stewart Haas Racing dying? So I got a couple stats. I know Matt's the stat man, but I pulled some stats myself. Actually, I stole them from Reddit this morning. I saw this thread on Reddit. So Danica Patrick in her last year with SHR had a higher average finish than Eric Almirola has right now. A lot of people love to dog Danica Patrick. I feel like it was kind of unjust. I feel like she was pushed a little too quickly. She should have stayed in the Xfinity Series a little bit longer and matured and got used to those Cup cars. But in 2017, her last season, her average finish was 23.8. As a whole, Stewart Haas at the time, Clint Bowyer had an average finish of 15.5. Kurt Busch had an average finish of 16.5. And Kevin Harvick had an average finish of 11.1. This is in 2017. And I'm about to make my point that I've been saying for a while. Don't count Harvick out and SHR out already just because he had a dominant season last year. Because in 2017, Stewart Haas, in 2021, Eric Almirola has a 25.3. So he's just barely beating Danica Patrick. Cole Custer currently has 21.4 as an average finish, about 6 points lower than Clint Bowyer at the time. Chase Briscoe, who is a rookie. Now, here's the caveat. Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe, both young drivers, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Chase Briscoe has a 20.4 average finish. Kurt Busch had a 16.5. Kevin Harvick has an 11.6 average this year. In 2017, he had an 11.1. And that's why I keep saying, don't let Kevin Harvick's dominant season last year kind of outweigh and say like, oh, he's having an awful year because he's not the Harvick of old, because Harvick in 2017 is basically the same as what we have right now. He just hasn't had his win yet. But the rest of
basically what you're just telling us is Harvick is SHR. Other than Harvick, no one else is really doing what they're supposed to be doing.
That's all I heard there.
So do you think Stewart Haas is dying? Do you think it's a young talent problem where they're just kind of still waiting to develop and grow, or do you think it's the team? I know Harvick is struggling with this package this year. They lost some downforce in the offseason due to a rules change, but do you think it's SHR is really in bad shape, or do you think it's just some young drivers who are figuring it out?
You know what? I'm gonna take this one here, Matt, because I'm gonna be quick with it, because I think I'm struggling to determine whether it's SHR who's struggling or if it's Ford, because right now, really the only Ford that's running well is Logano.
Either, yeah.
Exactly. So is it Ford or is it SHR? Because you look at all the Fords, they're not running that well. So Logano is basically the only Ford that's in the top 5, I'm pretty sure of, and who's running up there almost, consistently. So is it SHR or is it Ford? But there are definitely issues at SHR, like you said, with, Briscoe and the 2 young guys there. So couple years till they maybe mature into it, but I'm wondering if it's more of a Ford thing.
Yeah, I mean, you make a point. Ford does seem to be struggling a little bit, but Penske has at least won races. There's Fords that have won races. I said it last week, and I'll say it again. And like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but when SHR was a perennial top 15 team, always like being a contender for a win, always a threat.
Yeah.
Week in and week out, you couldn't really count out the SHR guys because any one of them could rip off a win.
Yeah.
It didn't always happen, but they were always at least a threat to. And then this year, they're not even running in the top 20 guys. Like, they live in the 20s, in the high 20s too, in the 25th through 30th positions. And that happened in a year. Like, that happened so quick. And I don't know what's happening. Like, it's at a point now that if I'm an SHR fan, our buddy Robbie Schrey, huge SHR fan, I had a brief conversation with him about this, Eric, at your house, and he's a little concerned, but he is not massively concerned. I'd start getting massively concerned right now if I was him, because something's wrong. Something's not right in that camp. And I know we said it last week. I'll say it one more time, and then I'll leave it to you guys with any closing remarks. But I think something major happened there, and I don't know if it's something that we'll find out later on down the road or if we'll never find out at all. But I think my gut tells me something major happened there.
See,
well, you make a good point though, because like Whitey said with Penske, there's turmoil there too. There's something going on behind the doors there. One of their top drivers, possibly leaving, and like, so they're still performing, like you're saying, like there's still, those Ford cars that are there, getting wins. So yeah, to your point, there's definitely something wrong at
all
SHR
three of them have
now.
wins at Penske. Stewart Haas hasn't even sniffed a win.
No, Kevin Harvick, the closest he's run in the top 5, but even he's not a staple in the top 5 right now. Average finish right now, though, still 11.6 on the season, which I don't think is too terrible either.
It's great, but like when you're a guy, Jimmy Johnson had to deal with that too. When you have a couple races where you're not running well, everyone thinks you're done. And he has what, an 11th. That's really, really good.
I don't think he's done. And also, on top of that, think Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe are 2 really young, talented guys.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so confused as to what's this huge drop off in performance.
Well,
right. The pieces are there, just the performance isn't. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think they've got a great young stable there. I mean, at least Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe. I know Harvick and Almirola are both a little higher up there in age, but but they've got a good stable there of guys who have proven themselves in with Almirola and Harvick, and then in the lower series, you've got Custer and Briscoe who have proven themselves.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is. I don't know what's happening.
Well, I said it last week. Is it because Tony maybe not be putting full effort into it anymore?
Yeah,
with,
he's working on
coming
SRX,
out,
which starts this Saturday on CBS. I forgot to mention that in news, but the Superstar Racing Experience is starting this Saturday. They'll be at Stafford Motor Speedway. But yeah, Eric, like you said, is Tony's focus somewhere else? Is it the team as a whole, or, and this is a perfect segue for that audible I told you about, are we putting too much pressure on rookies this year? Can we look at William Byron? Last year, I would have written off William Byron, and this year I feel like he's come into his own, and it's in his fourth season at Hendrick Motorsports. Of course, they're a much better team right now than everyone else. But are we putting too much pressure on rookies and moving on too quickly? Eric Jones has a handful of wins at Joe Gibbs Racing, and they dropped him really quick for the next big thing in Christopher Bell. Are we expecting too much out of Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe at SHR? In the beginning of the season, I heard Chase Briscoe was going to win 5 races from people that were calling and who were real high on Chase Briscoe. Of course, he was great in the Xfinity Series, right? Xfinity Series, won a whole shit ton of races, but again, Cup is a big jump. Are we expecting too much from rookies? Right now, Stewart-Haas Racing is a very young team. Eric Almirola, yeah, he's a veteran, but he's never really performed that great. He's usually right around top 16 car. Kevin Harvick, yeah, he's had a fallout from last year, but in years previous, he's running about the same. He just hasn't had that win yet, So are we looking at a SHR with too high expectations for what they really have in the garage?
I think from a team owner's perspective, money is everything, and the younger guys come cheaper.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why there's a lot of pressure, at least from ownership. It's either you perform or you're out, because I have someone that's younger than you that I can pay less than you. And
they're going to bring their own sponsors where it's out.
Unfortunately, I think that's kind of the place that we're at in the world of NASCAR right now.
I just think the pressure on rookies has always been there. If you're a talent, if you're one of these guys that is highly touted and talked about, I think there's too much pressure. You go back to Joey Logano.
I was just going to say it, Eric.
Oh, better than sliced bread. And look at Gibbs got rid of his ass too after 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and look at him now, one of the best drivers out there. I hate to say that,
but it's true.
Even hearing myself saying it's
a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's a future Hall of Famer.
There was a lot of pressure on him, and I think that got to him. I think, and he admits it.
Kyle Busch got pushed out of Hendrick Motorsports really quick, and he's one of the greatest drivers of all time.
I think that's always been there. I just think it's more a business side of it. I think it's more of a management side of it, of a team, and like Matt said, the money. But yeah, I think the pressure's always been there on the rookies, but the ones that are in the spotlight.
Yeah. And you want to what? Just going off the top of my head, we have a lot of young, talented drivers. So I think we just have the strongest bunch of young drivers in a long time.
You have Eric Jones, Rookie of the Year in the trucks, wins a championship. Rookie of the Year in Xfinity, comes in second in the championship in Xfinity, goes up to Cup, wins Rookie of the Year in the Cup, and has a few wins there for Gibbs. Like that to me, that resume alone, right then and there, like. Oh my God, they dropped this guy?
Yeah.
They dropped him. And he's still only 24 or something like that. It's really they dropped him.
Yeah, the thing that blows my mind, Eric Jones is younger than Christopher Bell, who replaced him. And Christopher Bell is the hot young prospect. It blows my mind.
Looks like he's 12.
It pisses me off. He does look like he's 12, but he's 25. He's older than Eric Jones, and Eric Jones honestly looks way older than he is.
Dude, he looks rough, dude. He's looking rough. My boy's looking rough.
But that just blows my mind. You have a guy who's a proven winner, and you drop him for the next possibility. Of course, Christopher Bell did run in that 20 car and win at the Daytona Road Course. So yeah, he's a proven winner now too, and he's still a young guy. But I feel maybe we just have such a good, talented crop of young guys in their 20s. Kyle Larson's only 27 years old. You remember a couple of years ago, NASCAR was pushing the next generation as like Austin Dillon and those guys. They pushed it too early. This generation is going to be the top guys. I just think that maybe they're just pushing them a little too,
though, Whitey.
A little too hard.
Austin Dillon, look at him. And I said this way back in the day when Matt was looking for, because he knew Dale was leaving the 88.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, there was a lot of pressure on Austin back then, taking over the 3 car, coming back. Like,
oh yeah,
they really put all of Austin Dillon, that might be the most pressure out of either Eric Jones, Logano, like coming back in that car and that number, the expectations he had.
Absolutely.
And,
a lot of people hating that move.
Yes. But now look at him. He's coming around. He's maturing a little bit. He's understanding how everything runs on a week-to-week basis in NASCAR, and he's getting more comfortable. That seat time, logging laps, knowing that, it takes a while for these guys. And I think you look at anyone's resume. Yeah. They drove for Hendrick. They drove for Gibbs. They drove for this. But every driver up, you go through Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Logano, Harvick, they bounce around all the time. It's always happened. I just think now we're at that age where we could realize it, and we're seeing it live, and we're seeing it happen in our time. So I do agree that there is a lot of pressure on rookies, but only certain ones.
Yeah. I was just wondering, because you mentioned Eric Jones earlier, and it reminded me, I was like, oh, our team's putting too much pressure on rookies these days. I know you want to send them out there to win regardless, but then I was just wrapping it in with Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe, because those are 2 great drivers that I think would have a bright future in this sport. But right now, you look at the performance, you're like, man, what the hell's going on? They're in the mid-20s in points, and they should be running top 15, top 10 every week, and they're just not. And maybe the expectations are just a little too high. We will see as the months, the races, and the years go by. But I got one last pick a lane, and it has to do with road racing. Should we remove stage breaks from road racing?
Ooh.
What do you guys think about that?
I will say to the listeners that that Whitey dropped this one on us, and I like that you dropped it on us.
Yeah, this was unplanned.
We didn't have any time to really manufacture an answer there.
No.
I agree. No.
Because you got to keep it consistent every race, every way through.
Yep.
You can't pick and choose points. Points would be all screwed up. That would be a disaster.
You make a good point when it comes to the point system.
So don't stop the race. Just say
don't throw the caution. Have that marker as a stage break. Count those points, but don't throw the yellow. Because the way I'm seeing it,
it's just you're going running order, Whitey. Is what you're saying. Whatever the running order is at lap 35, whoever's running in that order, you get the points. Continue going. I could probably get behind that.
Because I've heard the boys at the boys on Door Bumper Clear have thrown that out there a couple of times, and the first couple of times I heard it, I'm like, no, like I love stage racing. I love that.
But I feel like stage racing doesn't matter for road courses, because half the guys pit with two to go in the stage anyways, because they're going off sequence and stuff. I say let the race play itself out with fuel strategy, tire strategy. Get rid of that manufactured yellow twice in between, and just let it run out. You can't
do it. As long as this is the playoff system, you can't do it.
Yeah.
As long as it's the playoff system, you can't change it from one race to the next.
Why not? I think counting the points is just as good. What's that caution really doing in between breaks besides bunching up the field? That's what it's really for, is to bunch up the field for this package on 1.5 mile track. So, I mean, I don't know. I say get rid of it.
I like the stage break.
Whitey, this is what I'm saying. Sorry to cut you off, Matt, but it just popped in my head that if you said let's get rid of the stage breaks entirely for every race, I'd be okay with that.
Okay, yeah.
But just for road courses, because it's still a change. It's still a different. There's still strategy involved in what you do. You know what I mean? Because that's a caution you're going to have.
Factoring in
what
those,
I mean?
Okay. Because you're factoring in like, oh, am I going to give up stage points over tires or fuel or whatever?
Fuel, everything. Yeah, it all matters. So either get rid of them or don't. And I don't want that because I do like the stage racing at other racetracks. Like it's either pick one or the other in my eyes.
I fell in love with stage racing when they introduced it. It didn't even take me that whole Daytona 500 when they first brought it in for me to fall in love with it. So selfishly, I don't want to see stage racing go anywhere, and it's not going to. I mean, NASCAR has proven that it works. It's exciting. Like you said, it rebunches that field back up. So I see what you're saying, but I personally wouldn't want to see them get rid of it for road courses, but because exactly what you just said, those crew chiefs know that they have to strategize around those stage breaks. So it's just another element to strategize around.
All right. I think that's all for the Pick a Lane segment this week. That is presented by the Bump and Run podcast. So as we were talking about that, it reminded me not to jump back into the race. This is way off topic, but man, did that late caution really screw a lot of that race up. There were some guys that were about to run out of gas, and I really wanted to see what was going to happen with that.
They were going to pit within 1 or 2 laps. They were happy.
We were so close to seeing mayhem unfold.
Yeah, like we really missed out on a great ending. In fact, because of that late caution, I'm going to bump the race grade back down to an A-. I'm on board with you guys. I'm on board with you guys.
No. By the end of this, he'll be agreeing with me. It'll be a B+.
It'll be a B+, and you should wreck your teammate for the win no matter what. We're out there for wins, God damn it. All right, next week we are racing down in Texas, but it is a unorthodox race because it is the all-star race. But if you enjoy regular points-paying races, we have a doubleheader on Saturday. Truck's going to be on track in Texas for the Speedy Cash 220 at 1 p.m. on FS1. And then Xfinity Series takes over a little later on in the afternoon for the Alsco Uniform 250, 4 p.m. on FS1. And then the Cup Series takes the track Sunday evening, 6 p.m. for the All-Star Open, followed by the main event at 8 p.m. We're going Sunday night racing. And I have a feeling, Eric, you're not going to be able to watch because you're going to be playing hockey, right? Or you had your championship game. It was on. Oh
yeah,
the clouds and the skies are aligning for you for this Sunday evening race, 8 p.m.
Yep, coming in. No more hockey. NBC's coming in. Fox is out. Well, no, let's go.
Fox is
gonna. Summer. I know Fox. Fox will be here for this one, but they're on their way out.
It'll be the last hurrah for Fox for the season. I guess you could count this as a pickle lane. What do you guys think about an 8 p.m. start for a Sunday race? I have a feeling what you're going to say.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Okay.
No, because, football games, Sunday night football, it's 8 o'clock, 8:30. Monday night football, same thing.
All right.
If it's a full race, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
But since it's just the all-star race, it's not that big of a deal. If it's a normal race, I probably would have a bigger, complaint.
I was expecting you to say 1 o'clock.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, no, under normal circumstances, like, no, thank you. I know for the past couple of years, the Las Vegas playoff race gets run at like 8 o'clock on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And that's an actual race, an actual playoff race.
Yeah.
And they run it on Sunday night. It's not a holiday night or anything like that. It's just they do it. I think they do it actually. When they're making the schedule, they say, "Hey, you want to know what's going to piss off Matt Riley? You want to know what's going to drive him through a freaking wall? Is this? Let's set this race for absolutely no reason at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night during football season, nonetheless. When there's an NFL game,
I do have the reasoning for that because it's Las Vegas. It's the fall. The fall heat is the worst all year long. The summer and the fall is the hottest in Las Vegas. They originally had that race run at I want to say 3 p.m. West Coast time, 3 p.m. East Coast time, noon West Coast time. The sun was beating down on the grandstands too bad that it was too hot for the fans. So they pushed it later on in the day.
I did, yeah,
where
I do remember hearing that.
The sun would be behind the grandstands. It would be a little bit cooler. But like you said,
okay. No, wait a second. Okay. So you said, why don't we make this a pickle lane segment?
Yeah.
I'm going to get fired up here. So since when has NASCAR ever cared about the fans at the track with weather? Because they throw a Pocono race at 3:00 on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon in the middle of the summer, when what happens in the middle of the summer in Pennsylvania every freaking afternoon?
Thunderstorms.
Random thunderstorms come through. Every afternoon there's always a threat. From now until the end of August, every afternoon there's a threat for a thunderstorm. And they don't care about us.
Well, I don't disagree when it comes to the weather there. 110 in Vegas is a lot more different than a rain shower in Northeast PA in the middle of July. Plus, you got to think, how hot is it in those cars, too? If it's 110 in the air, it's going to be 160, 170 in those cars. Those guys are dying inside.
Like you said, Matt, the track's got to make this, right?
Oh, yeah.
The track's got to make this.
Got those fans in there.
Stands. And okay, too, to your point, when I said back in 2016, I went to Atlanta, and instead of it being super hot, it was super cold. Mm-hmm. So they offered, like I said, your money back if it's 50 or below for the cold versus it being too hot. So all they really want is the money and the people to go to the race, so that they, it's all money.
Fair enough. I don't have to like it, but fair enough.
All right, like we said, though, this Sunday, the All-Star race is going to be a short one, only 100 laps down at Texas Motor Speedway. Of course, it's a mile and a half. I'm not even going to try to do the math really quick. What is that, 150 miles? I don't know. Anyways, it's confusing as all hell this year. The All-Star format, usually what you get is the All-Star Open, where you have like a 15-lap shootout. The winner of each little 3 races goes on to the All-Star race, and then there's a fan vote, and then it's a regular race after that. It's short, it's fun, it's quick and easy for the fans. Well, Eddie Gossage, before he retired, decided he was going to give us one last headache for Michael D. White, at least. The All-Star race is going to be split between 6 rounds of racing. Starting lineup is going to be set by a random draw, so we don't know where they're going to start.
I
don't know.
Like these ran.
What did they use the Pythagorean theorem to figure this out?
Wait, it gets worse. So they're going to do a random draw, which is kind of like the formula we're doing. They're picking the bingo balls, right? So round 1 is going to be 15 laps. When it's finished, the field will be inverted from 8th until 12th.
But so why those positions?
I don't know. And then they're going to be placed via random draw. And then round 2, another 15 laps. The entire field's going to be inverted. Round 3, another 15 laps. Field inverted, 8th or 12th, random draw. So round 1 and 3 are the same. Round 4, regular 15 laps. Round 5, 30 laps. The lineup from this round is going to be determined by the cumulative finish from the first 4 rounds. All cars must enter pit road for a 4-tire pit stop. And then this part's pretty cool. The fastest team during that 4-tire pit stop is going to win themselves $100,000, which I thought was a cool thing. And then round 6, 10-lap shootout. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen in Texas this Sunday. It sure is going to be interesting just to see how it works.
On top of all of that, they're running the 550 super low downforce
package.
So, and it's not the package that they're going to run in the fall playoff race. So there's going to be you're getting nothing out of this race. Information. Yeah.
It is.
My eyes went cross-eyed about halfway through that.
Did you ever, I know we have like a few short tracks around here, but they're a ways away. Have you guys ever gone to a short track where they do like the boat races where they'll have a truck with a hitch and there's a boat in the back? It reminds me of that kind of stuff where like things are just going off the rails. Like I don't even know how to follow this all-star race.
This seems like something you would see at like the Bloomsburg Fair. Like
exactly.
It's way too gimmicky.
We got a round of school buses going around, and then we put the boats out on track with the school buses, and then all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of Crown Victorias that are going to race the school buses, but because they're faster, They have to do double the amount of laps around, and then we're gonna have a round where we take all those cars' times, invert them, and then run them backwards in an X. Like that's it.
Next I'm waiting for, like, if your car number ends with an odd number, we're gonna set it on fire for the last 5 laps. Like, what else are they gonna pull out?
I don't even know if you could bet on this race since it's not a points paying race. I don't know if Vegas is gonna have betting odds. We certainly have no betting statistics, and we're not even gonna make a bet. In fact, we are just gonna we're gonna pick some random numbers right now
we're gonna play off the gimmick of this All-Star race.
Yes.
And that's what we're gonna do for our picks this week.
So
we're gonna have a little fun for ourselves. But Whitey, before you get into it, we never agreed upon. Oh, I guess we did. I was gonna say we never agreed upon what the winner gets. But
yeah.
How about this? The loser buys the winner a lobster roll in Portland.
Ooh,
wow.
Okay.
All right. I like it.
And then,
lobsters are on the menu.
And then the middle.
Nothing but lobster in Portland.
And then
Nothing but lobsters.
All right. And then the middle guy's just push, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So, since normally we pick from, we were picking first to last the last couple of weeks. Last week we changed it. We figured it'd be a little bit more fair to have the last place person pick first, second, and then the first place person picks. But what we're going to do, since we don't know who the lineup is going to be, it's not going to be a full field of drivers because you have the fan vote and you have some people that are going to be able to win their way in who haven't qualified for the race. We're just going to pick numbers, right? And let's see. I have it written down. I gotta do it right here. Let's pick numbers. Whoever starts in that position for the main event is going to be your driver. Highest finisher gets to pick first next week. So it'll be a little bonus. We're going back to the old way for next week where you get to pick first. We're going to give you 5 extra bonus points in the overall standings. And apparently now the loser is going to have to buy the winner a lobster roll in Portland, Maine when we go in 2 weeks for our buddy's bachelor party. Now, last week, I came in last. I picked Tyler Reddick. He got me an abysmal 22 points. And
we needed that big time. We needed you to have a shit week.
He had a rough week. And you want to know, even like as the race was starting, go, why the hell didn't I pick Kyle Larson to win this race? This was the dumbest pick of my life. But I really did have a lot of faith in Tyler Reddick. And he was performing pretty well until he got like nudged in the back in a crush panel, cut 2 tires, threw off their strategy because they lost sets of tires in the whole mess. I think he could have finished better than he did, but he got me 22 points. Martin Truex Jr. netted Matt 41 points. He got a 3rd place finish. And Kyle Busch, who finished behind Martin Truex Jr., showing how important those stage points are because he got 44 points. So Eric is going last. Matt goes second. I go first. I'm going to pick, and I'm going to do it for Dale. I'm going to pick number 3. Whoever starts in the number 3 position is my pick to win the All-Star race. Matt, who are you going with?
I guess I'll keep with that theme. Going old school, though. The number 8 for Junior for most of his career when he ran for DEI.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the number 8. Whoever starts in the number 8 is gonna win me a lobster roll.
All right, Eric, and who are you picking?
I am gonna go with number 10, just because I want to be one of those cars that's gonna be in that flippity floppity
thing and see what happens there.
Just so little more interesting for me to watch the race. A little something extra.
Okay, so 3, 9, and 10, or 3, 8, and 10.
We have no idea who those drivers are going to be, but it should be an interesting all-star race. Eddie Gossage really, really thinking outside the box with this one. We will see how it goes. Of course, it is a non-points race, so you will not be able to qualify for the playoffs if you're a first-time winner this season. None of the points will go towards your playoff picture. But let's take a look at the playoff picture. We're 16 races in, and we still only have 11 different winners. Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Kyle Larson tying number 1 with 3 wins. Martin Truex Jr. also has 3 wins. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Alex Bowman with 2 wins. Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Chase Elliott. Who will win the All-Star race? We don't know. Who will qualify for the All-Star race? We have a good idea, but we don't know who's going to win that fan vote and who's going to race their way in. And who are our picks going to be? We don't know. It's either going to be driver number 3, number 8, or number 10. That's who we're rooting for this Sunday down in Texas for the NASCAR All-Star race going on at Texas Motor Speedway. 6 p.m. for the open, 8 p.m. for the main event, and we will break it all down on Monday at the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt, the Statman Reilly, for Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
Bump and dump and run.